Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Ray Bradbury, the show right here on Let's Talk Entertainment. We're going back to 2018. I've been attempting to read and review each of the roughly 600 short stories written by the late, great Ray Bradbury in his long career. Today we are up to story number 275, which is also the 15th of 25 short stories in his 2002 collection, One More for the Road. And today's story, lo and behold, is the namesake story of the collection, One More for the Road. If you are new to the channel, the way that these reviews work is I do a very brief synopsis of what the story is all about, the plot, character, and action, and then I wrap it up with just a very light analysis or my observations on what the whole story means. And I generally do this for my own entertainment value and for my own enrichment, but I am happy to learn that on occasion some of you people are watching these videos and taking away things that are helpful to you. So here we go. The publisher's receptionist enters his cluttered office. It seems that there's a very odd little man out in the waiting room, and he has to go out and see him. And this man has been to dozens of publishers. He's been turned on every time. What he has with him is a very strange proposition. He is carrying several bags full of what look like scraps of wood, but on those pieces of wood are various words. And he proposes that they bring back the old days, inspired by the Burma shave signs that proliferated the roads of America, especially during the Great Depression. And he wants to write the world's longest novel. Literally, he wants to write the novel and spread it out across the country and give people things to do while they are traveling. And this, to his surprise or to his benefit, this older gentleman who is a publisher, he has fond memories of that time, and he decides that, yeah, we're going to do this. So they undertake it, and he gives him a loan, and begin writing, and they begin making signs and spreading them out across the country. Through small hamlets, and then sort of leading them into bigger cities. And at first there's a whole lot of excitement, people are getting into it, but as the time wears on, things sort of begin to wear off. Entire sections of road have to be skipped because there's towns and properties who don't want their colorful little signs in their yards. And of course, the internet has arrived. The internet age has arrived, and people are basically cheating. They're copying down his story, plagiarizing it, reposting it, and people no longer have to come out and see the signs themselves, see the country in the real world in order to read his story. And then he gets there's hints that he has experienced writer's block. He can no longer write. He can't move the story. And he says that the story sort of stalled out somewhere between Donner Pass and Death Valley. So he comes back to the office. He brings a couple more bags of words, of sentences, which he leaves there with the publisher. And he says, I'm so sorry. I just can't do it. I've got writer's block. Maybe somebody can be found to finish the story at another time. And he basically leaves him with these blocks of wood and the promise that, yeah, I'm going to get a real job and I'm going to pay you back for your loan. And he leaves. And that is the end of this story. So this is a fun, silly little satire about the writing life, about publishing, about what the internet has done to us all. I think anybody who's ever written or aspired to write can sort of relate to the idea that you have this creative stroke of inspiration, you begin writing, and it's so exciting at first, but eventually it gets hard. Your mood changes, your interests change, and you sort of hit that writer's block, and you can't go on. And all the fun and exhilaration of that creative process that everybody has, I think, at one point, whether they're a writer or not, but they think they're going to become a writer. Experiences where eventually they hit the wall and they don't complete their project. But also, there's the matter of the difficulty, notoriously, of finding a professional publisher. Back in the day, there was basically your only option was to find a professional publisher. There were a few vanity presses if you wanted to self-publish your novel, but generally before the internet, that was very difficult to do. It was costly, and now it's very, very easy to do, and that has sort of changed the way that we relate to novels. Notoriously, there's books like, I think the novel of MASH was turned down like 30 times before a publisher finally picked it up and it became a classic. But how many classics went unpublished back in the day? Potential classics, that is. And now we have the internet, which, it offers the advantage of everybody being able to publish if they have the will to do the work. Yes, a lot of bad stuff gets written and published, but also a lot of stuff that never would have gotten a chance to be published professionally can now be put out there by anybody who's willing to do the hard work. And so the internet has been a very double-edged sword for the entire writing world. It's good for some, but bad for others. And I think that although not everything Bradbury wrote was strictly speaking autobiographical. I think that in this case, the story came out in this collection in 2002. Internet is emerging. I think that he must have been thinking about this and sort of having spent his life since the 1940s writing and publishing professionally. Now how everything is changing, and books that he used to have to go and buy a copy now were becoming available on places. Various places online, and it's exploded ever since then. It must have been interesting times for him, a little bit scary perhaps, but also interesting because of sort of the ability to get these stories out there now. So there you have it, one more for the road, the namesake story of this collection, and it's a pretty good one. I like it. It's been it's like a lot like some of the recent stories that I've read by him, where there's sort of these high-paced, frenetic dialogue, and he doesn't really give you much time to catch your breath, and I think that works to the advantage of the author in this case. But at the same time, maybe not the type of story that's going to become a classic necessarily, because it is sort of a little bit abrupt. But I think that it works, at least for one sitting, for a one reading opportunity. It's given me a lot to think about in a very short space, and I quite enjoyed it. So I think you would enjoy the story too, but it may not keep you thinking long term, like one of his great novels perhaps. But all right then, next up we'll be looking at the story Tangerine, which is the 16th of 25 stories in the collection, my 276 Bradbury review overall. As we continue this journey, I'm glad that you joined me for this episode. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon.